Chapter 9 is what I would call like the end of the Heidel arc. This is the last time that we fighting him as like the main antagonist to our party. He's still gonna pop up every now and again, just like through the rest of the game, but this is the last time that he's like the guy we're fighting specifically. So to prepare for this really exciting final battle, we're gonna get rid of a whole bunch of miscellaneous cards in our deck and replace them with just strictly Neptune horns, really. We're gonna bring a lot of those into this map. And on the hanger side of things, we're going to replace Yamato's old weapon with his new Buzzsaw horn, and we're going to give his old power bumper to Akane for reasons that I'll explain later. And we're also going to buy 2 boosters, and by boosters I don't mean like just like generic stat boosting items. I mean it's literally called booster. I know I specified it like differently earlier, and I'm really sorry about that, but it's called a booster. It is a gun part that increases your movement by 1, and you can obviously tell why that'd be really important for us. You can just get everywhere faster. And we buy 2, we buy 1 for Shoya and 1 for Yamato, but we're only going to give Yamato his this chapter, just because that's how it works. So we're going to give Shoya his next chapter. But as for what this chapter actually is, so we find an origin. I don't remember which one, but we find an origin, and we're going to fight Heidel for it. And the origin is just like this normal-ass capsule that's just sitting in the middle of nowhere, waiting for someone to stroll by and pick it up, like, you know, all MacGuffins do. But hey, what do I know? So, basically we gotta stop him from getting the origin, and then after that, it's just a normal level where you have to go and kill everything. And the first thing you're gonna notice about this chapter is that it's really, really big. The developers have a number of templates they use for size when they're making chapters, and this is definitely one of the bigger templates that they use. There's a couple other levels that are also this big, but this one's particularly egregious because there's stuff just spread out in every fucking corner that we gotta go do. There's a couple capsules, and there's enemies every which way, and we're gonna end up spreading ourselves very, very thin in order to get everything done. But the thing that stands out to me with this chapter, and it won't to you, is that when I was recording the footage for this chapter, I was actually using a completely different strategy than the one that I use in the video. And what ends up happening is I do a whole bunch of things differently, and it ends up saving me an entire turn. And I'm really excited about that, because before I beat this chapter in 8 turns, and that was the single case where I beat a chapter in more than 7 turns, and now it's only 7 turns, so that's like the record. That's the biggest number that we ever get, which is really awesome. And even more awesome than that, it brings our total for the entire game down from 121 to an even 120, so I'm no longer really pissed off about that. And in general, the new strategy is just better. It's just not bad. But I'm going to take things one step at a time here. So right now, Tsubasa's got pushed as far forward as she can. Now she has just enough movement to reach the origin and spider thread Yamato above her. We basically spent the first 2 turns of this game just like organizing ourselves and getting ready to start moving to places where we can start doing stuff from. It's a huge goddamn map. So Yamato and Tsubasa are at the top, and Yamato's going to end up going straight north, and his job is to fight that colony up there. And colonies are basically worse snails that can't move and don't have cannons. And they're usually just full of bad enemies that they'll spawn a whole bunch of. In this case, it's ants. So in this map, that colony will spawn a whole bunch of bad ants that Yamato has to fight his way through and then blow up the colony. And that's his job for the whole chapter. Tsubasa is going to go to the right from where she is, and she's going to kill Strider, and then she's going to grab a second capsule. And you might have noticed that the origin, in addition to being like a plot point, is also worth $1,000 when we pick it up. And the capsule that Tsubasa is going to go grab is another 500, which is really cool. There's also a third capsule, and it's way, way off into the left corner, and there's no way we can get that, so we totally ignore it. I believe it's called the Heavy Blade, and it's an upgrade for Shoya's weapon, but we don't need it, as you'll see pretty apparently a couple chapters from now, so we ignore it. Next is Akane, and she's going to take basically the entire right side of the map by herself. She's going to start by using Bee Sting on this butterfly. And she's got the butterfly to kill, and then a water strider, and then 2 mosquitoes. And I managed to do this, well, only using 2 cards. And that's really important because we really need as many free spaces of cards as we can to fit as many Neptune horns in as we possibly can. So to do that, we gave her a melee weapon, and she's going to spend most of this chapter like melee countering those mosquitoes. which is really dumb. I said earlier that Akane is really good at filling a whole bunch of different kinds of roles for us, but melee attacking is not one of them. And yet, that's what she's doing this chapter, and you're never going to see that again. So go and mark your calendars. And we leave the entire left side of the map, basically to Yui and Shoya with some help from Minoru. And that's where most of the changes come in from the old strategy, the new one. Shoya and Yui still take on the entire left side, but they do it in a much less stupid way. What I did before was I basically had them both go just like into the center of that big open space, and then Yui would take a couple hits and use Hornet Fury to counterattack, and it was a bad strategy. But now what I'm doing is I'm actually having Shoya just take an extra turn in there just to sit around and do nothing, so none of the enemies will be afraid of him and will instead like come close and bunch up. Ladybugs love to like stay at the very edge of their cannon range when you're fighting them, so that's why they would like avoid Shoya like the plague. And instead of Yui going into the middle, we're gonna have Minoru just like stick to her and keep feeding her Ladybug cards. So I addressed Ladybug Luck last chapter, and it gives you +2 cannon range. And I'm also bringing in a Ladybug Eye card, which is like the worst version that you would use to combine to get Ladybug Luck. And it only gives +1 range, but we still need both in order to have enough range to do what we need to do. And that's just like harry all these guys that have a bunch in the middle. Heidel, we're gonna one-shot with a Mantis Touch, and we're gonna hit a Rhino Beetle as well, just a couple times actually to kill him. And then Shoya's just gonna swing in and kill all the Ladybugs by himself. So I'm gonna take a minute to talk about the differences this game has between easy, normal, and hard mode. I've actually never played normal mode, funnily enough, so I'm only gonna talk about easy and hard mode, but occasionally this game will differentiate between them by just like making enemies higher level, making them harder, whatnot. But mostly what they do is they actually just add or subtract enemies from the map. So you might have noticed in the top left corner there's 6 different bases, and on 3 of them there was a Rhino Beetle and 2 Ladybugs. Well, in hard mode there's actually double that for 4 Ladybugs and 2 Rhino Beetles, and in addition to those guys they actually stuck 2 Mantises in the middle around the origin, and you might expect why we would play easy mode instead. Like, basically, for example, we can't use the strategy we used in this chapter where we had Tsubasa rush the origin because she would get eaten alive. And it's mostly for situations like that why we decide to play easy mode over hard mode. I mean, like our goal for many chapters in this game is just to kill everything, so obviously having less stuff to kill makes everything go faster. Should go without saying, honestly. I would like to see a hard mode LTC. Probably won't end up doing it myself, but it would be interesting. There's only so much of this game I can take at every given time, though, and honestly, it sounds like a huge pain in the ass. Partially because this game is actually balanced around you doing the Badlands, which I have not talked about, and I think I should actually probably talk about it right now. So the Badlands you probably have seen as an option I've never touched in the Battle Preparations menu, and simply what it is a whole fuckload of extra levels. There's actually 60 of them in total, as opposed to sorting mode where there's 26 that we're going to do, and there's an extra one to make 27 that we're going to skip. So it more than doubles the amount of content in this game. So if you're watching this game, you'll be like, oh man, Drone Tactics is pretty cool. But there's no need for me to play it because I've seen everything there is to see. Well, you haven't. You haven't seen half of it, Buster. So yeah, there's 60 Badlands levels, and there's a whole bunch of like interesting items that you're never going to see in this game because they're Badlands specific. You can only get them on certain levels. And the thing about it is, and this is apparent on easy mode as well, but is really apparent on hard mode, is that the developers actually expect you to be playing the Badlands as like supplement to the main game. And in this playthrough I never touched the Badlands because I ended up doing some stuff that makes it so I don't need to be at like a certain level in order to actually kill things. But you're kind of intended to be playing all these extra levels and getting all the extra experience and money so you can keep up with the enemy, because eventually I'm going to get eclipsed in terms of firepower, and it's going to be kind of fun to see how I deal with that. But like the Badlands are intended to be like a challenge. Like by the time you get to like the end of the game, you're probably gonna be at Badlands 30 in any given casual run, and then there's 30 fucking more, and they're all really hard. Actually, I deleted my file that I was playing on before I started doing this LTC run, and I had actually not been the Badlands, so I have still not played this entire game, funnily enough. So yeah, that was basically Chapter 9 in its entirety. It's really not a, like, really complicated level, but there's a lot of things in it that just barely work. And big shoutouts to our buddies Akane and Minaro for, you know, showing up and actually being a part of things. Even though they didn't do what they were intended to do, they still helped out in their own weird ways. And they're going to have an equally important role in the next chapter, and in every chapter after that. They're really cool guys, so stick around. You'll get to like them just as much as I do. And this is what I would call like the end, like the easy part of the game. So after this, all the enemies get like way harder, frankly. We're gonna have to end up using cards to kill just about everything. And also gonna start spicing things up with some different victory conditions, which I'm really excited for. That's my favorite part of the game. And mostly because at this point I'm tired of killing everything, and hey, you probably are too, so stick around.